some funds together to do that. I'm getting in a pallet of her books, probably next week sometime. If somebody wants to contact me, the only thing we require is a couple of dollars if they come pick it up, just to sort of help reimburse our shipping, because we are all going through a financial crisis right now. So I can give you a contact number.
That's excellent. Go ahead.
It's 727-919-5936. That is my cell phone, so I don't want to get bombarded with calls, but I also can give you an email address.
Email's fine. That's even better.
It's hernandobeachseafood@yahoo.com if somebody's interested in getting a book. If they can come and pick it up, like I said, it would be a big help. We're going to get a pallet in, which is 800 books, and that's all that she requires.
That's 800 books, folks, not 800 bucks.
800 books, 800 books. So
cool, that's excellent. Listen, I'm going to be sure to email you something, because I'm going to want one of those books, and I'll be more than happy to donate some money, donate something for the shipping, and that's terrific.
That would be wonderful. Well, so what's happening at this point with our commercial fishermen is a lot of these areas are getting closed. They don't have a lot of areas they can fish to begin with. So when NOAA puts on their website 80% is still open or 70% is still open, those are not areas that are necessarily open to our commercial fishermen. They've been regulated to death before this ever started. So we have small areas that are open. We can't fish in a lot of the areas we normally fish, which is putting people in hardship financial situations.
What about Hernando County?
Hernando County, definitely.
Really? You're saying Hernando has already had fishing closed?
Yes, not in our county, but it's actually offshore.
And
it's
that's where you're doing
middle
your
grounds.
fishing. Yes.
We do our grouper fishing in there.
In the middle grounds.
In the middle grounds.
That's amazing. See, folks, I always thought that fishing was just done out there, like in whatever county. I totally forgot that this push-ups go out further, and that's where the oil is.
Right.
And that's what people don't see, because they don't see it on their beach. They think their county's not affected.
Right. Now we have closed areas. We can't fish in this. We're not fishing in those areas. So like right now, a lot of our boats are going down off of Naples, places like that that are open, or into the open areas. And they haven't seen any oil. You know, that's really important. I think that people know that, you know, these boats, if commercial fishermen do not want to bring in fish that are going to make anybody sick.
Right.
But anyway, that's been kind of a hardship on us though. So, you know, I think people in general believe that, you know, the fish are unsafe, and one of the problems we're having in Florida, one of the biggest problems, is that the fish that we are bringing in, we're having trouble selling. Our markets have been really
They assume
tough.
that it's got to be tainted in some way.
Right. So, you know, what it's done is it's putting the fishermen in a position where, because of this BP oil spill, their finances are getting to the point where they're starting to get very behind on their house payments, on their bills. Yeah. And then this Vessels of Opportunity program is starting to look very good to them. Now, Vessels of Opportunity is a program designed by BP. We actually did something very similar out in Alaska.
I know what that is. That's where they just recruit any vessel that's available.
Yes, commercial fishermen apply. It takes time to get into the program. We've actually been on the list for a couple of months. Since then, we found out a lot of very negative things about how sick you can get.
But there's also something else. If they pay you, then they can reduce that payment, can't they?
No, well, what they do is they pay you, and it sounds great. Some of these captains or owners, actually the owners of the boats, are getting $1,500 a day. I mean, people on the outside hear that and they think, wow, I wish I could get $1,500 a day. It sounds great. But what they don't understand is two things. Number one, that money, when they do at the end sue, you know, everyone's probably going to be part of this big class action lawsuit.
Right.
That money comes out of their lawsuit.
Yeah.
So if, let's say over a couple of years they make $100,000 and they get awarded $150,000,
right,
they'll only get $50,000. Now, on the other hand, if let's say you're a carpenter also, we've got
when you say
else.
$150,000, how much are those licenses that the fishermen have to pay for to run those companies?
Well, I know for us, just the ones that we were supposed to be paying for at the end of June that have now been delayed 90 days because we were able to get that extension.
Yes.
It was $10,000, and that's nothing compared to, like, if you want to go get a license, some of them are worth $80,000 to $100,000.
I've heard maybe some of them are more than that. So getting that $150,000 is maybe just going to pay for a license, or part of a license and some, but not for the employees.
They're going to be devastated.
Nothing.
I mean, people are going to lose their businesses, their livelihoods, and you know, the thing that's tough is, you know, they're putting us in a position where we don't have any choice if we want to not lose our homes. I mean, we are family people. We've got children. Well, these are people that have made good money their whole life. You know, they're able to pay their house payment every month, their car payments.
And
suddenly the money's disappearing.
You know, they say you're supposed to be able to pay your credit cards in a year. So if you make $100,000 and you bills are $50,000, you can live on $50,000 and pay off all your credit cards in a year. But if you're suddenly dropped down to nothing, or $20,000, now your credit card debt becomes so high you can't ever pay it back. And people will say, you know, you got yourself in trouble, but you didn't. You were put into that position by the economy and by this oil and by BP. It's a disaster. Kathy, I'm so glad you're here, and I'll tell you why. I don't know anything about fishing, and that's good, because I think a lot of people out there don't. So you need to speak to somebody like me who's going to ask you the questions that they seem a little too simple. Mm-hmm. But being that you're in the business and you're an expert from your perspective, knowing what your husband does, what your family does, and knowing how the other fishermen operate, you're kind of like right in the middle. You understand both sides. Right.
And two, you know, I've got kind of a team going on. Yeah. It's not really official, but I've asked some people. I've got contacts from Panama City, which is up in the Panhandle, down to Key West. Okay. And actually, even this morning, I made some calls to see how is everyone doing, and then I'm taking our needs to our governor and trying to get those needs met.
How's Governor Chris doing? How's he handling this?
Well, I don't actually know because I haven't gotten to speak to him yet. That's one of the things I've been trying to do is get with him. I would like to sit down with him sooner than later.
That would be nice because, you know, Dr. Riki is a big name out there, and she's already dealt with you directly and told you what needs to be done, and you looked through her books, you've read her materials, you've listened to her for I don't know how many hours of her speeches, 20, 30 hours worth. That's like going through a whole 2 weeks of a seminar at a convention on like one-on-one practically. And if somebody knows about this, it's you. So she should be he should definitely be talking to you.
Well, that's the thing. When people set up a meeting and it has to do with the county, all of a sudden money needs to come in, funds. But the funny thing is, you know, I did a meeting an hour past or 2 hours past the meeting that they set up the other day. I'm not going to say who or where, but you know, it didn't cost me anything because people really want to hear the truth. They want to know what's going on. Those are just members of our community. You know, one of the things I wanted to hit on here is, you know, our commercial fishermen are going up here. They're feeling like they have no choice but to win this program. And to be honest with you, I have to hit on this. Commercial fishermen are very hardworking people. Their jobs are not just jobs. This is their living. This is their livelihood, and it's who they are. Usually, they've been raised by someone who commercial fish. So that's when they were 8 years old, they were out on the boat with their dad, and they were learning how to do it. It just became part of who they are. These people would much rather go out and be able to do what they're supposed to do right now than get any handout from BP on any day. And that is the God's honest truth. That's how they are. I hear it over and over and over again. All they want to do is be able to do what they could do before. And it's looking really sour and looking really bad.
Right.
And it's devastating.
And this is not an act of God. This is not a natural phenomenon. This is something that's been perpetrated upon us by an industry that has not ever bothered to go beyond the strictures that were in place 60 years ago.
I agree with that. There was things, it's very interesting, you know, when you start reading and do some research, there were things that were done with Exxon Valdez that were proven not to work. For instance, here, let me open this up so I get the name correct. Corexit, 9527. This is what they're using as a dispersant, which, by the way, is still being used. A lot of people think it's stopped, but it hasn't been. The Corexit did not work with the Valdez spill. They were able to come in and prove it didn't work, but yet when there was a plan put in place, which the only thing they require from these oil companies is that there is a plan. The plan doesn't have to be approved, it just needs to be a plan that if there was a spill that they have something that they're going to do. And one of the things are Corexit, and this dispersant is very, very toxic, it's very dangerous, and I think, you know, it'd be good for me to read a little bit about that. Our fishermen are getting sick. These people are put in a position where they're being forced into it. They're being given a bunch of lies. They go to this little 4-hour program that says, you know, this is what you need to know. We know a commercial fisherman who actually was told that, you know, being around the dispersants in the oil is not dangerous, that there's never been any recorded cases of anybody getting sick. But yet, here I can read right in her book. Now this is on page, let's see, hang on. This is also page 12. Corexit. This is the Exxon Company, 1992. Hazardous ingredients. OSHA hazard, eye and skin irritant, vapors irritating to eyes and respiratory tract, toxic systematic via ingestion, inhalation and in skin.